Okay, this week we're going to delve back into using terrains. So there's going to be different types of terrain systems that you can use. So in here, as you can see, like I got these neoprene ones that you can use. And I got some like other stuff in here from like ones I'll show later. So concept of like these terrains is to kind of help give like a visual. So what you can do is like with this package, I'll show the back, is these neoprene ones you can get. So doesn't say how much this one is because I bought this probably like a year or two ago, but like stuff like this you can see like in the back neoprene. And so you got like different concepts, like you got a ruin right here, you got like in a sense like what look like the trees. You also got like a trailhead type of deal. So these are these type of like ones that you can get in the package I showed. Now another type is like we can get with board games. So like these ones come with like the Warriors of Krynn box set. So like and a lot of them you do notice or flip side. So like in a sense, you've got like a prairie here. You got like a forest road, as I usually as like I got that typical glare from my lights and everything. So you got the farmstead on one side with another one. You got like barrows. So like the kind of concept is that. So with this is the kind of, like I said, give yourself like a visual. So like here, like you can see like the frost giant and like the heroes facing off against the frost giant. So this kind of helps give you like a visual, at least a better visual than something that's like your typical table. Now you could quite possibly get away with doing like just like a blank sheet of like hexagonal shapes and like kind of draw it out with like in a sense dry erase board or something, like a dry erase markers. But like as you can see, something like that gives more credence, like the same thing like these neoprene terrain. So like it kind of helps with the visual and stuff. So, and of course you can also like so like for instance, like I said, I mentioned these ones with like the Warriors of Krynn like board game. Another concept you can use is actually like an actual board. So like as I flip open this board, is actually from the HeroQuest board game, and I've gone over like a bunch of like pretty much like all the expansions with that. So we can like see how like a board like this can come in handy. So that's where board games actually do kind of like come in handy again. So now like you can see like using these miniatures how like this frost giant kind of takes up like in instance in this room takes up most of like the room. So like showcasing the heroes again going up against the frost giant, and like so I'm just basically using these miniatures to kind of showcase on how like you would use like a board, like a board or something like this. Now HeroQuest is like your traditional like dungeon crawl type of board game. So you have like pretty much like the same layout of the board. So you got like in a sense quadrants. So you got this quadrant, you got the center room, you got like the upper left quadrant, and you got like the lower left hand quadrant and the upper right hand quadrant. And so like that's in a sense where you can get into like board games and stuff like that. Now you also have like in a sense you can get like I'll showcase the whole box and everything. In a sense, boxes of actual like tiles like with like in a sense staircases and like different types. So like again showcasing like how you would set this up and everything. So like I said, I'm using like the frost giant and like the two heroes as an example of like showcasing. So as you can see, this is just one hexagon, and so like and that's pretty much from like the actual like flip tiles that I got here with the this Pathfinder, but like the same kind of concept and everything. So now again, like with HeroQuest expansions, you also got like some of these like ones that like showcase in here are for like some of the expansions that you can get. So like you can see like different types of terrain. Good old like from Return of the Witch Lord, and then like the Frozen Horror. So you can kind of have like throne rooms and stuff. So as I'm kind of like trying to find like perfect ones to, so like ones with this flip through for like the Pathfinder one. Move these aside. You can showcase. Hey, put that. How we can, in a sense, create like a room, and then in a sense, like as you can see, how we can now. Obviously, you can see that this doesn't line up because they're kind of like warped a little, but like you get the sense of like an arena type of deal, as the characters don't want to stand or anything. So you could, in a sense, do like an arena gladiator type of style. You can imagine like a gate or something on each side. Of course, like you can see the frost giant kind of like taking up a lot of space. This gives you like a good indication, like, and usually like each square is like a 5 foot by 5 foot like square. And so like when you're doing combat and stuff in like role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, or like you could use this like for Starfinder, or like your science fiction type of games like Trinity or something, to give you like an idea of like, okay, who's where type of deal. So it gives you a better, like in a sense, visualization versus like your, like I said, your typical table. You kind of like well, you kind of have to draw it out and kind of have to like wing it more. So it does get like these tiles do give you more of like an option. So like now, for instance, like that's the throne room for like Frozen Horror. So like we go like here for like Return of the Witch Lord. You get like obviously the frost giant's a little too big or something. So like maybe I use like a Gorillion as like something that's like a smaller. Heroes enter the room, and you can see kind of like on the if I can get them to stand, how like you could use like now you could use miniatures, but you could also use like stuff like tokens or something. So like you don't necessarily need to use miniatures. So like yeah, let's see, trying to like find real quick like those tokens I'm talking about, and I don't have anything within reach, but like the tokens would in a sense replace your miniatures, and so you could use like tokens. If you want to see like tokens and stuff and everything, like I did do like the video on a campaign case. So if you want to go back and check that out and everything, you could use something like that. Now, of course, you could always end up using like a loose change or something like pennies, nickels, and dimes and quarters and stuff like that. So that could substitute for miniatures as well. And I'm going to kind of like keep reiterating with these miniatures that like or miniatures, this terrain. And as you can see, like here I got like stuff like in this Pathfinder case, or like in this case, we got like a bunch of like punch outs that you can do for, and these ones are only single-sided. As you can see, you can do in a sense a hallway. So like for instance, like your heroes are walking down like the hallway, and they come across like the Gorillion here that I have. So, and like what's great is like you can kind of like use stuff like this to kind of like maybe like you can see, make your own dungeon instead of like using in a sense, like a with stuff like this, instead of using like a pre-made dungeon board, you can make your own. So that's like with something like this, with like those tiles. So now, as I make room and I make a mess and everything, to showcase like how we can actually use stuff like this on an actual board and everything. Good old limited space on the table. I move the neoprene. Open up this board again. So now, like here, you can see how we can, with a pre-existing board and with stuff like this, we can put this in here, like in the center room, as you can see, or we could overlap it into like different rooms and kind of customize. So like a board like this, you could have like a customizations and stuff, and like you can see like the typical hallways. So you can mix and match and like maybe put this in the room instead, or move this over so you can keep the hallways free. And as you can see, taking up like two different types of rooms, or like you can do like something like that, or like as I actually move to get it on screen, so you can kind of see how like you could theoretically see this is the entranceway in this kind of like a chasm, or kind of like use it like that in like a turntable room or whatever, where like the concept of this one is like you rotate it and everything, so kind of like a randomization type of deal. And new other tokens, you can sit here and like move it around, trying to like finagle it. And so again, like the whole concept of like these tiles is just to give like a visual, to like kind of like I said, giving easier visualization on like how stuff like would fit in like squares and stuff, and how you'd move around with your heroes and stuff, to give a better visualization and easier scalability. Because like I said, most of the time these little squares are usually 5 by 5 feet, because that seems to be like the typical like for movement, at least for D&D. 5 feet, like characters like your humans, your elves, and your most medium-sized humanoids and stuff would be able to 30 feet and everything. So this gives you an easier tracker. Now again, you could just theoretically get away without using the board, and then using miniatures to kind of track stuff, but then you kind of have to either guesstimate or kind of pull out a ruler and be like, okay, let's pull out a ruler and be like, okay, that's how much we move, and this and that and stuff like this. As you can see, showcasing this stuff, and it's a lot easier to maneuver, and gives you like a bunch of like of easier accessibility to like a visualization and tracking movement and stuff for like your characters and everything. And it makes like running combat that much easier, so you kind of like know who's where, and like, okay, so you can move them to like attack, and like move them around as like maybe defeat that and move them around type of deal, and be able to ease it the visualization that much easier. I mean, you could get away, like I've said a million times, with just using the PHB, and you kind of have to use your imagination. But stuff like this, as you can see, makes it a whole lot easier to keep track of stuff, especially during combat and everything. And it can get kind of messy. So, get a great way to see stuff like this in action is like go on like other YouTube channels and see like playthroughs like people do, where they actually use these miniatures and tiles and stuff, and you can actually see the stuff in action. Like, oh hey, so, and the whole idea of this is just to give like you, the viewer, ideas for your campaign, and be like, okay, here's trains, here's how I can use them, here's different tiles and stuff that I can use. So here's something I can incorporate into my campaign. Now, again, it doesn't have to be a D&D campaign. You could use these for Pathfinder. You could use them for Starfinder, uh, Trinity RPG that I mentioned. Pretty much any RPG that you play, you can use these tiles to kind of like add flavor to your campaign or anything. So this is just kind of a revisitation of the tiles and terrain, and the showcase be like, hey, look, here's how you can use this stuff and everything.